You're right, guys, so this is a video about another Shenmue 3 rumour. Of course, the last one was to do with Yu Suzuki going through Kickstarter to get funding to make Shenmue 3. This was when he was asked about the possibility and he kind of said, well, maybe. Guys, he's never going to say no to any of those kind of questions, okay. But that rumour did kind of gain quite a lot of traction, got reported on in all of the gaming media, and that had some legs. That rumour definitely had some legs. And it's just the fact that we can help make these kind of rumours gain this traction and more attention, more and more fan support, to see that that passion is still there for Shenmue 3 to be made. So that's the only thing we can do as gamers, is to send that message. Yes, we're still interested, and yes, we're still getting excited about the slightest little tidbit of potential for that game coming out. Anyway, so the new rumour is to do with it coming out as a PS4 exclusive. Now this was kicked off because Megan Scavio, who's part of the organising, who's general manager of the GDC event. So the general manager of the GDC, Megan Scavio, tweeted this picture and comment. If you can see there is Yu Suzuki with Mark Cerny of PlayStation, who is lead marketing guy, I think, on PS4, whatever. And you see what it says there. Mark Cerny and Yu Suzuki talking, what is it called? Talking strategy for Shenmue 3. For reals, you guys. So, little bit trolly. I don't think she realises what a fuss that would cause. Maybe she did. If she didn't, then she's had not been doing her research. But it has caused a bit of a fuss, and people have been losing their shit over that. Now, we're not saying that it's going to happen. Obviously, that was tongue-in-cheek, that message that she put out there, that they were actually talking strategy for Shenmue 3. But let's discuss the possibility of that actually happening. Now, we know that Yu Suzuki is on board. 24/7, he's ready to go, right? He's got the files waiting. The Shenmue 3 story's already there. It's like when George Lucas had the prequels ready. Yeah? He had it all ready to go. He just needed to find a studio willing to fund it. Probably, I don't know, but anyway, it's ready to go. So Yu Suzuki's there, right? Sega have been releasing some of their previous franchises as exclusives. We've seen Bayonetta go to the Wii U as an exclusive. Now that game didn't do amazingly. Of course, it's a far more recent game, but it's a similar situation where it's got definitely a cult following, definitely critically acclaimed, and it's a Sega franchise that has been given an exclusive rights to a next-gen console, the Wii U. Which is looking more and more worrying, actually, as the Wii U hasn't picked up any speed yet. But let's hope that that game, it does well for that system anyway. But so Sega's willing to give out these exclusives. Sega's also, as we know, kept Shenmue in the limelight in a slight little minor kind of way. They've acknowledged its existence recently, of course, with the inclusion of Ryu as a selectable character in Sonic Team Racing. Is that what it's called? The first Sonic Racing game. So they've acknowledged its existence very recently. The game is all ready to be made, and and it's not inconceivable that, yeah, Yu Suzuki and Sega, or Sega more specifically because they hold the rights to that, would allow Sony to have that game as an exclusive on the PS4. Now, again, this is all speculation, but as fans, all we can do is add to the the traction that that these kind of rumours get, to just show that we're still interested. So that's why we're talking about it now. Okay, so now this is obviously, if you don't know already, should have mentioned it at the top of the video, a reply to Adam Koralik, who made a comprehensive hour-long video on this topic. So I'm going to echo some of the things that he's been saying, but a link in the low bar to his video. If you haven't seen that already, what you're doing, the guy's a legend, and a Shenmue aficionado like no one else. I mean, the guy is just an almanac for Shenmue, and his enthusiasm for it is infectious, and a comprehensive, informative video in the information bar down below to go and check out if you haven't already. So, again, I'm echoing things that he said there. I'm not going to go over those things in general, but he's basically talking about the possibility of Sega being taken on by Sony as an exclusive, to produce things exclusively for them. We've seen the potential that, or the rumours that EA are going to be exclusively working with Microsoft in the next console generation. Now, if that happens, as Adam was pointing out, that leaves a huge gap in Sony's publishing and game development, hopes, plans. and it would certainly fall to them to look to secure the exclusive rights of another big game developer such as Sega, to counter this effect of losing EA. So that's part of the kind of equation there. Now, so I go to Sega. We've seen obviously the latest where we've seen Shenmue has been, of course, on the original Xbox. So you'd think maybe they'd go with Microsoft, but again, Adam was talking about the fact that really, Microsoft has no traction whatsoever in Japan. That's going to be central to the interests of Sega, that kind of thing. So we're looking at the possibility of going on to PlayStation 4 now. The thing that I've always kind of thought that this correlates with something that I thought a while ago, and that is that obviously you've got the Yakuza series as an exclusive on the PlayStation already. Now that series has been really successful, and it's actually got guys from the Shenmue team working on that on the Yakuza games. So you've got guys that are actually involved with Shenmue already working with Sony on Yakuza, already mixed in with it with their company. So you've got to think that you've got some guys there that have already been singing Shenmue's praises and saying, look, this Yakuza series, we've taken a lot of the ideas from Shenmue and put it in this game, and it's been doing well. So the message there I would hope is that the audience is ready for Shenmue now. I mean, people look. Probably the only reason that Shenmue 3 hasn't been made is because you look at the kind of commercial failure of it back in the day, and companies are scared to take that risk again. But as we discussed in the last video, that doesn't really seem to hold any weight behind that worry, because you've got to take into account certain really significant factors here, and that is, it was released on a dying system. The Dreamcast sales were not good. The budget was ridiculous back then. Surely that you would think they'd be able to streamline the budget these days. Because it was ahead of its time back then. The game was bigger, more elaborate, more expansive, more. It was ahead of its time. It was bigger than most of the projects, big gaming projects at that time. Okay, so these days we have a situation where game developers are finding it easier to make these big expansive worlds. They are more common, and gamers are ready for that kind of sandbox experience. And games with a more kind of with that kind of pacing and with that kind of world environment, those kind of things are more successful now. So you can say that Shenmue was ahead of its time. People weren't really ready for it. It was released on a dying system. They didn't even release a sequel in America, the biggest audience for Dreamcast. So Sega really shot themselves in the foot. It was doomed, really, from the start there. But we have a situation now where you can have a much bigger audience, an audience that's ready for that game. And if we've discussed this before, but if they wanted to not take as much of a risk, they could release it in digital format or whatever. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. So the Yakuza series on PlayStation has been doing well, and it certainly has taken elements of Shenmue in that series. I mean, I've not played the most recent ones on PlayStation 3, but I have played Yakuza on PlayStation 2, and I certainly can see where they've taken bits of Shenmue there, and it's kind of clear if you played both games that there's some, you can kind of tell that there's some people that have worked on Shenmue that have worked on Yakuza series. It's kind of like the Yakuza is kind of like the Saints Row to Shenmue's Grand Theft Auto 4 kind of thing. So it's kind of a more kind of in your face, more cartoony, more kind of slightly more generic version of what Shenmue was, kind of in ways, not exactly, but I know Adam's probably going to disagree massively with that, but you can see bits that they've taken. That's my point. So you've got to think that Sony's already got people in their ear saying, look, Yakuza's doing alright for you. It's not going to be that much of a risk, and these companies do listen to their fans. We are seeing classic games getting re-released. We are seeing franchises being brought back. Mainly we're seeing that on the live networks and stuff like that, but they're always looking for IPs that are going to have an instant appeal, an instant fan worship attached to it. And Shenmue's got one of the most avid followings of any game And a lot of the people that are passionate about that game are very influential now. So you've got to think, as it's a very critically acclaimed game, right? If Shenmue 3 comes, that's going to generate interest amongst all the right people. So it's not just, you know, a small number of hardcore fans that would, you know, buy the game, but then that wouldn't be enough. No. You're going to have influential people that are excited about this, and that means game reviewers, that means people in high places within the industry, within the gaming media. So it's a game that will very easily generate a lot of interest very quickly, and so the marketing is already done. The marketing is already done for that game. So I mean, this is one of the big costs of the first one, is the marketing for that game was really high as well, contributed to the financial failure of that game. It'd be a different story this time. You know, you've had a decade's worth of people discovering that game and getting excited about it and loving it, and if they came back to the table now, like I said, you know, it's just, you cannot buy that kind of pre-loaded excitement for a game. You can't buy it. So yeah, so let's hope that happens. It would be a system seller. Who knows on what kind of scale, we don't know, but it certainly would be a system seller for you know, for a lot of people. It would be for me, and I can say categorically right now, if Shenmue 3 was an exclusive on the PS4, that is the way I would go. I would get a PS4 just to play that game, even if I sold it afterwards. But that doesn't probably usually happen, does it? Once you've got a system, you end up picking up things for it. So I could definitely see a situation where if that was a PS4 exclusive, I would pick it up for Shenmue 3, and then that's my console. And that's coming from somebody who's been vehemently against the kind of things that they're talking about introducing into it, and I haven't been very excited about it at all. And yeah, and I was Microsoft for the last 2 generations, Sega before that, so it would be a system seller to me. And I think that's all I've really got to say on it, really, because I don't want to repeat everything Adam Koralik said. That was an awesome video. Again, go and watch that in the low bar if you're a Shenmue nut, or if you're just interested in video games in general. The guy's a legend. If you're not subbed already, what are you doing here? That's it. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Bye bye.